I would like to know a bit more about what the home looks like the week after discharge, in particular when the visits stop from professionals.
I'll tell you what they look like, and then I'll tell you what it should look like. Usually, there's a waning off of the protocols that we leave behind in rehab. The patients get less interaction with family because they've settled in now. They've been discharged from
Yeah.
therapy. There's less interaction with the family. Maybe they call a little bit less frequently, and usually there's some sort of degradation of skill set. And so there's things happening in the house without having a therapist go there several times a week can get lost and they're maybe not sharing it. So it's not a great situation for someone who's living alone.
Seniors who live independently, what do they benefit the most from? What sort of support in that scenario?
I would say frequent calls from family, interactions with their physicians. So we do have programs, at least in the US, where they could get services at home, like a doctor could come see them at the house. So somebody kind of keeping their finger on the pulse to make sure everything is good. So the best case scenario is family stays very involved and they're checked on every day.
Okay. And do people listen to a trusted therapist?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
tell me more about this relationship that develops.
I can tell you how my team develops. I know that it's not the same for everyone because all clinicians are different, but our whole focus is we're seeing them 4 times a week, right? So 2 times a week for PT, 2 times a week for OT. We know everything that's going on in their house. And just like a good hairdresser, they'll tell us things they won't tell the family. Like they're afraid to maybe share some information with the family because they'll send me to a home or something like that. Is a trusted relationship. We're bringing them from needing rehab to not needing rehab anymore. They're stronger, they're moving around, they're doing better. And so any kind of suggestions that we make, they're more likely to take them from us. I cannot tell you how many times family has said, I've told my mother that 15 times. She never listened to me. She did it for you after the first time. It's time in, right? It's the time we spend with them and how we spend it with.
What do families miss between and after these visits?
And typically, it starts with there's a fall. And if they've been on our therapy services, they have our phone number. So they might call us and say, hey, I had a trip and fall and I have a problem with my knee, but they're not telling that to the family. And we do checks on them just because that's the model of my business. We'll check on them for weeks after we're done seeing them, just a quick phone call. But the things that are missed are the things that they're afraid to tell the family. They don't want to change a venue. They want to stay in their house. Most of my people want to stay in their house. They don't want to go anywhere else. And they're afraid if they appear frail, that's what's going to happen. Maybe the family sends in an aide, a couple hours a day to check on them, but that could be very costly and cost prohibitive for a lot of people.
You hear a lot of insights and views on assisted living in particular from seniors. What are the perceptions about assisted living among them? How do they look to it?
It looks like institutional living to them. Now, there are some that are homes that they've turned homes into assisted living. So they maybe take 6 clients, which is a little bit nicer because that's in a residential area. But for some, I call them the big box, the big companies that have ALFs. It feels very institutional to them, very impersonal. There's some beautiful ones, but again, the better they are, the more expensive they are. So then they're running into that as well. And I tell you, my father-in-law moved into a beautiful place. He's in independent living. He still calls it an institution. It's the perception. I am not in my home. I worked my whole life. I got my home and I'm not in my home. So I'm in an institution.
I understand that there might also be some friction between family members against giving up a home to then live in an institutionalized way.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah. So what happens is, in the area that I'm living in, a lot of times the family is not nearby. They're states away. And so they give a little bit of pressure. It's because they love them. It's not like I think that they're trying to, throw their parent into a facility, but they can't watch over them. They maybe have kids that are in college or younger kids and they have to take care of them. So that friction is, I don't want to leave my house. Well, you can't be here alone, mom. And I'm worrying about you all the time. And I've actually had people move from independent to assisted living because a family member said, I have a heart condition and I'm worried about you all the time, mom. And she ended up moving for that reason. And I hate for that to be the reason that you move. It's always better if they make that decision that that's what they want to do. They want to have that full-time support.
When you mention a very typical scenario of four, what constitutes good support after that?
Honestly, daily phone call. It could be as simple as a daily phone call, but there needs to be established some connection as far as like, okay, I know if I tell my daughter this, she's not going to run to the, oh gosh, you fell, that's it, you can't live alone. Like they need a safe person in the family where they can say this, and it's more of a, we're going to figure this thing out. We're going to figure out what it is that you need. So I would say that's the biggest thing. A daily phone call. I'm number 10 of 11 kids, so we had plenty of people that could help with that. But a daily phone call is really, you can hear it in their voice if you know them really well, if you know your parent really well, you're like, Mom, something doesn't sound right. And that can precipitate, I'll stop by or something. Yeah.
And what about the fact that there are many siblings who have to, instead of sharing necessarily everything equally, there would be one designated person who makes that call and then spreads the information. Is there some sort of system that can help with that?
Right now, I haven't seen anything other than what you and I have discussed. That's specifically the job is they call, they follow up, and they follow up with the family to say, hey, everything is okay. Sometimes there's tensions between siblings, and so that becomes a problem. They're not sharing the information. Some really good families will set up a tree. So I call my next sibling, and the next sibling calls that sibling. So it would be very helpful and beneficial to have one person that is kind of unbiased too, right? They're coming in fresh. They're seeing and hearing not based on any history with that person, kind of fresh, and just listening and trying to figure out what the best next option is for them, next move.
Is there anything else that you'd like to recommend that we discuss?
With regards to healthcare, there are a lot of services that can be brought right to the home because people that don't drive or have to rely on someone else will not go to a doctor for something that's going on. In my area, there's a lot of nurse practitioners that go into the homes, and you don't have to give up your primary care doctor. But if something were to happen that you really felt like you needed care right away, you can get x-rays, you can get blood work, all done in the home. Even a podiatrist will come to the home and take care of you. And then it's the same thing with a company like mine, where we provide physical and occupational therapy right in the home, so we can actually make changes to the home to keep it even safer. So that's the one thing, and that there's no limit. There's no limit to what Medicare will pay for. It just has to be justified. They just have to need it. So there's a lot of misunderstanding around that as well.
One more question that I have,
Sure.
and it's seemingly unrelated, but I remember this notion from one of your LinkedIn posts that you should be training seniors like athletes.
Oh,
Can you tell
absolutely.
me a bit about that concept? Because I'm
Yeah.
really curious.
Yeah. So it actually was proven in the 1990s that older people respond to training the same way young people do. So that means no more little pink weights. So it's 85% of your one rep max. Okay. So it's easy to figure out. You just pick up a weight, and when you get to the fifth one, if you're like, I can't do anymore, that's 85 of your 1%, 85% of your one rep max. And you only do 5 repetitions, 2 or 3 cycles of it. It's not 15, 20. That doesn't help. And when they did that with the seniors, they had unbelievable results. And then they went into a nursing home. They went into where people were in wheelchairs and walkers and canes, and they were able to dump all of it and just walk around and have a totally different trajectory of their life. So that is actually the whole basis of everything that I do, is to make sure that people understand that we are training them for a life. You can't train for a life doing just weak little grandma therapy. You have to get robust with it if you want to continue to walk around, spend time with your family, have a life, bathe, dress, not need help in the home. It's all 100% doable. We're just so late in getting it out. There's been lots of studies since then, but that was the deal breaker in 1994. They did that study.